Hi everyone, this is Molly Alger, and I think the barefoot community, the barefoot only community in particular, needs to be addressed. And this particular video was inspired by a Facebook post I saw made by a barefoot only account, and I think it's high time I made a video about this. I am, in my opinion, definitely qualified to speak on this topic because of not only my profession, but also I used to be a huge proponent of the barefoot only community. I made presentations about how horses could be barefoot only. I would do public talks about it. I would post on Facebook about it. I even got so convinced about this particular belief system that I tried to trim horses myself, which was not a good idea. And I was very young at the time, thankfully, and didn't quickly found out that was outside of my expertise. Anyway, I feel like this video needs to be made for the beginners that are out there and for the people in the barefoot only community that are like me and really wanted to do the best for my horses. And my path in all of this turned out to be that I realized how dangerous this closed-minded thinking could be and how many horses it can actually harm. So when I see these Facebook posts of people convincing others in the comments, you must go barefoot, it's the only way, this is the way that it should go, I feel like I need to speak up and I need to make a resource available for people that want to learn how to do the best and how to have a common sense approach to this topic. Now, me in particular, I was convinced because we had horses that needed to go barefoot and needed their feet rehabbed because their shoes were literally falling off and they would not stay on. These were the first horses I ever had, and so I was 100% behind the belief of this is the way to go. All horses should be able to go barefoot, and I was just in, and I was a believer because I experienced it and I witnessed it. Well, what happened over the years was as I got more experience and got my hands on a lot more horses, and I started to realize and see that that doesn't apply for every horse, and it can't apply for every horse. There are many horses, and more than you would expect, that are so conformationally flawed that forcing them to go barefoot will never make them 100% comfortable or even close to comfortable. And that's not even being used or ridden, that's being let out to pasture. And I had the experience of two horses in particular that really started to change my mind, with one that was having navicular changes in their front feet and another that would never grow heel on their hind legs. They were so far underrun just because of the way their hip was angled and the way that it grew and the way their genetics were, that it was not in their cards to really be comfortable. And this happens with humans too. Some of us are born with one leg shorter than the other, right? And you can help with a shoe to correct that and help them to have a more normal life and have more comfort, right? So what's to say that doesn't happen with horses? And yes, some people in the barefoot only community understand that and have exceptions, but there's so many out there that are perpetuating this closed-minded and dangerous belief, in my opinion, with inaccurate statements, which I hope to do some react videos to some of these posts I've seen, just in an educational way, not to call anyone out, but I feel like we need experienced people to speak on this topic, and I want to be one of them. I am a horse trainer, I'm not a farrier, and I do a lot of training and instruction and stuff, so I get asked these questions a lot. So here we go, let's dive into it a little bit more. Different breeds need different things too. As you get more experienced, and you will know, as you get around hundreds of different horses and different breeds, you'll see cutting horses tend to have tinier hooves. Draft horses tend to have different needs than your average, Arabian, right? So that as you get around different breeds, you'll notice different genetics, bad luck that they get, all of that goes into play. You can't have a one size fits all, right? And are they sound out at pasture? Not are just they sound when you're using them, right? These are important things to ask when saying, does this horse need shoes or can it go barefoot? A lot of these barefoot people will say, well, then just leave them out to pasture. But if they're not comfortable out there, then are you doing what's best for them? Look at your horse's individual needs and get on a program to help them, regardless of your ideological and structure that you wish could be enforced on the world, right? Let's see, a lot of these posts I see too are comparing good hoof trims with terrible farrier jobs. And that's just not okay. Like, you're comparing apples to oranges. What if I showed a great farrier trim versus a terrible barefoot trim? It would be equally as unfair. But people in the comments will be like, this is the way to go. That's right. Shoes are so terrible. They kill the horse's legs all the time and whatever. Do we need better technology in shoes maybe? Do metal cause concussion on hard ground? You know, there's some truth to that, or there's some instances where that it could make the horse's joints worse. Absolutely, we need better technology, and we should pursue things like glue-on shoes and whatever as we research them. But what do we do about the horses right here, right now, that are not sound and are not comfortable? Do we force them to go without shoes? Is that the right thing for them? I want people to think about that and start to have a more common sense approach. I know I've already said that, but I really feel like that's what we need to have, right? Another thing I found out was that you cannot add hoof when you go barefoot. You cannot add hoof in there. You can only take it away. So when you have a horse that needs to grow more heel, you can't just stick him in a boot, because you can't leave him out to pasture with that, right? And if they're only sound when you ride them, are they in pain when you're not riding them? And is that worse when you take them out and try to ride them, right? So you can't always add hoof barefoot. You need to sometimes add hoof just to get that horse to be sound or to be comfortable again, right? Even if it's just temporarily. And just because something's natural doesn't mean it's better. There are horses living natural lives out in the wild, but they're dying of starvation, of cold. They can't find food. They're drinking. Their hydration's all off because they can only drink once or twice a day or something. So just because something's natural doesn't make it better for the horse. We have so much technology now. And I have also learned the technology over the years as I became a professional, the technology we can put into shoes. If a horse is sliding a little bit crooked, you know, in a sliding stop, we can add grip, or we can grind that shoe down, make it smoother, and help that horse actually be able to slide straight and make up for the conformational flaws or imperfections that they might have. Believe me, us as trainers do not want to make more money by putting shoes on horses or spend more money by putting shoes. We just want horses to be comfortable and to be able to perform well and keep their bodies as long-term as possible, right? So when we're looking at putting shoes on a horse, if it can go barefoot, let it go barefoot. We don't want to have to put shoes on that thing. That's just an extra expense, right? But if the horse is not comfortable, if they're doing so much riding that they're wearing that horse down, or I want to take it on trails, I don't want to get stone bruises, and I don't want that horse to just start shedding so much hoof that it can't grow it fast enough, you know, poor its genetics or whatever. Part of something I want to mention too is nutrition and movement and all that is still so important. I know part of the barefoot only community, that was stuff I learned and was so important in that community. A lot of it carries right over into what I still do today, but a lot of it does not too. And I will do probably other videos if you guys want on like nutritional, what do I feed now versus what I fed then. And I believed all like these mineral and pea, corn stuff, whatever. But that's for other videos, right? A good farrier will be able to tell you if a horse needs shoes or can go without them. A good farrier doesn't force your horse into what they want them to be or what their beliefs are. They will say that maybe that's not my area of expertise, call this person, right? A good farrier is going to recommend you places, or they're going to say, I think this horse can go barefoot. Why don't we save you some money and pull these shoes? Or they'll be like, I really think you should put shoes on this horse. You know, ask your farrier's opinion. They are the professional. It's hard to find good farriers. Believe me, I've been through it, right? So take your time. You might have to switch up professionals. Be very polite. We'll do a different video on how to treat farriers and how to find a good one. But it's very important to trust their opinion and to seek their guidance. If they've been under thousands of horses and trimming them, chances are they've seen a lot more than you have. So a good-ass farrier can help your horse way more than your Facebook education can. I've learned that myself. When in use, horses will also experience different things than when they're sitting out to pasture. So when you start getting these horses under work, or you start putting some wear and experience or different maneuvers on them, you may see that you need to just help them be more comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can have a whole other discussion on whether or not you should be riding or using horses. But do we need to address breeding and conformation and structure and breeding for better hooves? Absolutely. I firmly believe that. But still, what do we do with these horses that we have now that could have so much, a much better life than they do being uncomfortable and miserable with whatever whatever imperfections and issues and injuries they may be experiencing, right? You may have a perfectly fine horse that gets injured and needs a little bit more support, okay? Lastly, I just want to say, just don't believe everything you see on Facebook. Get professionals' opinion. Like I said, a good farrier, good professionals are going to point you in the way of resources and going to say, hey, take an approach to your horse that says case by case. Does this horse need something? Does it not? How sound is it? What is the use you're putting into this horse? And what are the disciplines you're using it for? What kind of surfaces are you riding over all of the time? What kind of surfaces is a horse living on? What's its diet and nutrition look like? Does this horse not grow enough, fast enough? Or all of those things should be taken into account. So I just want to encourage you that maybe you're confused on this and you don't want to go the path, or you think it's scary to put shoes back on your barefoot horse or something, that if you find a really good farrier, really good professionals, they'll be able to point you in a way that it's not going to cause your horse harm down the road, right? We want to do what's best for our horse, but by causing horses to be in pain to fit a narrative and your belief system that all horses should be barefoot is wrong. And I think it needs to be called out, and I think us doing what's best for the horse should be the ultimate goal. And whether or not I'm using them or I'm working with them, I still want my horse to be healthy and happy and to give them the best life I can, because they are ultimately under my care, and we can do so much better for them than they get out in the wild and out and being natural, right? We can give them so much longer lives and fulfilling lives and build them a good habitat and herd, or just a fulfilling lifestyle, right? So all of that is really important, and leave your experience and comments down below. And I also don't care if you want to ask me questions or if you have an argument in defense of your side. Just don't at me, because I've been there before and I've heard pretty much all of it. But feel free, go ahead, and I really want to hear your experience, whether good barefoot, pro barefoot, pros, cons, whatever, both sides. Drop it down below and ask any questions you want. Hope this helps.